It's time now for Mortgage Matters with your host, Bill Sandvig. Bill Sandvig serves as market leader, running the South Carolina coast for Movement Mortgage. Movement finished 2014 ranked as the #1 mortgage company in purchase mortgages for the Charleston Tri-County area. And they're still growing. And now your host of Mortgage Matters, Bill Sandvig.
Good afternoon, Charleston. This is Bill Sandvig with Mortgage Matters. Happy to be back on the air with you today. We are talking about mortgages, finance, real estate, anything that has to do with a market, a financial market. I'm here to talk about it. You can always call into the studio at 843-556-1250, or you can reach me directly anytime on my cell phone, 843-300-7870. Happy to talk about just about anything. You can go online and find me at my website anytime, www.lowcountrylending.com. You can check me out, check out what my team is doing, learn about my company, and learn about what we have to offer. Put in a buying power evaluation where I can quickly break down and assess where you stand, how far you are from your goals, what your buying power looks like, what you can afford from a mortgage standpoint, from a payment standpoint. I am happy to do that. That is absolutely free service, free of charge. Just go to my website, www.lowcountrylending.com. I'm really excited today. I think we've got a great show, going to cover some really good topics. We are going to go over, what you want in a lender. There are so many options out there. The Charleston real estate market is so hot. The Tri-County area is so hot. Really, the entire state is hot. We are, especially on the coast, we're a second home, an investment home market, and there are way more buyers and properties out there. And so all these companies are flocking to our location. I think back 2 years ago, I was at a real estate event to kick off the 2014 year, and there was only about 8 banks and lender booths set up at this event. Fast forward 12 months to this past January, there were over 45 tables with different companies, different mortgage companies, different banks that had shown up in Charleston in just 12 months trying to get a piece of how hot our market is right now. I'm proud to say that Movement has been here. We were number 5 lender in market share for purchase mortgages overall for the entire year of 2014. We're 300% ahead of last year's pace. And if you throw out the banks who have depositories, we were the number 1 non-depository lender in the Charleston Tri-County area in 2014, our first year in the Charleston market. And I'm really proud of that, something that we can really tout. And it's really thanks to the support of consumers like you and real estate partners that we've established over the last year and a half. So I want to spin into what you want in a lender. You've got so many choices. There's a lot of people out here that got a lot of that are here to give you a lot of choices. When you're weighing these options, what is it? How are you going to make that determination about who to go with, who not to go with, who's got better fees, who's got better prices? I'm here to tell you what it boils down to when you're comparing lenders is fees and cost really should be a second thought to the rest of it. A mortgage, whether it's an FHA mortgage or a VA government mortgage or a conventional mortgage, it is the same wicket. Everyone is selling the exact same wicket, and it's worth the exact same amount on the open market. What that means is the fees really are going to shake out to be very, very close from one company to the next. There isn't a huge variation in how much you're going to spend between one bank, one mortgage company, one broker. It's all the same. And the CFPB and the Dodd-Frank Act has made sure that banks and mortgage companies and loan officers can't make more on a loan by charging you a higher interest rate. There's no incentive anymore. There used to be in the past where if someone gave you and negotiated a worse rate than someone else, they could actually make more money on that transaction. That is not the case anymore. Everyone is going to make the exact same amount regardless of how they price that loan. So obviously, everybody wants to be as competitive as they can to get the business. So what do you want to look for? The first thing that I would recommend is find someone local. You've got to have a local representative. I've talked about this a million times. The The market, across the country are specific to that locale. There are things and intricacies that have to be dealt with that don't have to be dealt with on a massive scale across the entire country. So if you're calling into a 1-800 number and you end up getting patched into someone in Iowa to do your mortgage, they do not know, they do not understand the intricacies of doing a loan, doing a mortgage on the South Carolina coast. There are differences. They don't have local partners that they work with that they can refer you to help you through this transaction. I have real estate partners. I have insurance partners. I have local attorneys who I partner with, all who are at the top of their field, at the top of their game, doing what they do excellently. And you're just going to end up out in the wind trying to find those people to serve you if you call into a 1-800 number and you don't go local. You got to go local. I've got local partners like Andrew Muller of Mappus Insurance, president and owner of Mappus Insurance. You can find him and his company at www.mappusinsurance.com. Another partner of mine, Jimmy Foti of Foti Law, his website, www.fotilawfirm.com. That's F-O-T-I. So many local partners here to serve your needs. If you don't stay local because you're trying to save $100 in fees, you're going to miss out. You're going to miss out on a good experience, a positive mortgage transaction, and you're at the end of 35 or 45 days of trying to get through this process, you're going to be stressed out and wondering, man, was that $100 I tried to save by going online worth it? The answer is no. So after local, you want to find someone who's experienced, an experienced lender, an experienced person who does a lot of transactions. This is not an easy business, folks. There is so much that goes into the regulations and guidelines and lending that if you just walk into a bank and just sit across the desk from someone without getting a referral from someone who's had a positive experience, or specifically your real estate agent who does this every single day of their lives, it's their career, do not fool yourself into thinking that you know better than your real estate agent. They are doing this transaction as many times as they can. They're dealing with this mortgage experience 4, 5, 10 times a month. They know what you're in for if you don't go to someone that they trust. You are in for a surprise. You're in for a bad experience. You want someone experienced. And most people don't know this, but when you just walk into a bank, a financial institution, that person you sit across from, they are not required to be licensed. They do not have to be a licensed originator in order to issue you a mortgage. All they have to do is have gotten hired. And they have to have gotten hired and been willing to work for less money than a licensed originator, because those banks are paying less for people to come in and just be receiving you as a client. You walk in the door and you're just being received. They're paying them less. So think about it. When you go into that bank and sit across a desk from someone you've never met before, so it's from someone you've never been given a referral for this person, you're sitting across from someone who's not licensed and is willing to work for less than what they're worth. Because if they're in a lending institution, they're paid for that experience. They're paid for that knowledge. They're paid for that license. And you want to have someone who knows this industry. You want to have someone who's at that level. So experience. Next, I would say find someone who has a team. If there's, just like a real estate agent, a top producing real estate agent who's at the top of their game, they're going to have a real estate team to serve you. They're going to serve you through that transaction with people like showing assistants and buyer's agents and closing coordinators and follow-up call staff. They are there to serve you. It's not just them. Imagine all the things that you know how difficult a transaction is in the mortgage industry and in the real estate industry. If you have one point of contact, that is going to be a bottleneck. It is the exact same thing in the mortgage industry. If you have one point of contact, one person you can call, that is going to bottleneck you. There is too much for one person to handle. If there isn't too much for them to handle, they're not good at what they do, and they're not doing a lot of transactions, and you don't want to go with them anyways. So you want to go with someone who has a team. Personally, I have a team of 5 people in addition to myself that are focused on delivering superior, perfect customer service. Next, does this company do their processing and underwriting in-house? What does that mean? Underwriting and processing can be outsourced, and this would be something that a broker would do, where the broker is just representing different lenders and different companies that want to issue a mortgage, but that processing and underwriting for that file, really the heart of that experience, is outsourced to the company that they decide to put you with. Think of it in the same way as an insurance broker. Insurance brokers, it's a great selling tool because they go out and they're able to represent and farm your homeowner's insurance to a variety of companies, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 companies. That gives you choices. With a broker, they're going to have the one or two people that they represent, but they're going to have to outsource the most important part of the transaction, which is all that documentation, all that collection, the underwriting process. They are relying on a company that they don't work for, a totally separate entity, to get the answers you need. And so I hear all the time customers say, I'm trying to get an answer about where my file is or where the status of my loan is, and my loan officer just keeps telling me he's asking. He doesn't know. He can't tell me where the process is. That's because that broker does not work for the company that's about to give you a loan. You want to make sure that your processing and underwriting is in-house. When your processing and underwriting is in-house, like we have at Movement Mortgage, I have a direct line to not only my processors, but to my processors' managers, to their manager's manager, to the underwriter, a direct line. All I have to do is dial a 4-digit extension and the underwriter's on the other end of the phone. And if they're not available, I've got a team of people who are waiting and ready to work on that file. Communication is key. Lastly, speed. We are going to get into speed and why Movement Mortgage is the fastest company, the fastest mortgage company, which has directly led to why we have been the fastest growing mortgage company for the last 7 years. Since we were founded in 2008, no company in the country has grown as quickly and as successfully and as smoothly as we have, and that has to do with speed. So when we come back on Mortgage Matters, please call in 843-556-1250. I'm Bill Sandvig, and this is Mortgage Matters.
There's more Mortgage Matters with Bill Sandvig coming up next on The Big Talker, 1250 WTMA. WTMA. You're listening to Mortgage Matters on 1250 WTMA. Once again, here's Movement Mortgage's Bill Sandvig.
We are back on Mortgage Matters. I'm Bill Sandvig. We spent the last segment talking about what you want to look for in a lender. And to recap that, you want to find someone who's local, someone who's experienced, someone who has a team, someone that does their processing and underwriting in-house. That means they don't outsource it. They've got a direct communication line. And lastly, you want to find a company that operates on speed. And basically, you want someone like me. I won't say it. So when you want to reach out to me, give me a call at 843-556-1250 here in the studio, or you can call my cell phone, 843-300-7870. Call me anytime. Happy to talk about mortgages, happy to talk about anything. If it's something that I can't help you with, I promise you I've got a local partnership with someone who can help you with your needs, and I'm happy to make the referral. I'm happy to put you in touch with those experts. I know them. I'm here in the industry. I've been doing this for a long time. I can put you in touch with people who I trust, who I know do an excellent job. And so please go to my website, www.lowcountrylending.com. That's where you can find me. Put in a buying power evaluation, and I will process that for free, let you know where your family stands, how close you are to your financial goals when it comes to real estate, what your payments are going to look like, what your buying power looks like. That's a free service. It doesn't take me long to do. Everything I do operates and based on speed. So I've talked a lot about speed, and it was the last thing that I think you need to look for when you're looking for a mortgage lender. And I want to talk to you a little bit about Movement Mortgage and why we are absolutely the fastest, most organized mortgage company in the country. We actually have it on our marketing materials, 6-hour underwrites, 7-day processing, 1-day close. 6-hour underwrites, 7-day processing, 1-day close. That means we are structured to get your loan done in less than 2 weeks. I'm going to share a story with you. about a customer and a client that I just picked up last week. The real estate agent came into my office and asked me, Bill, how long do you need to close an FHA government mortgage? I said, well, is the customer ready to go? Are they relatively organized? They said, yeah, they're ready to go. Got all their stuff. They're actually already been pre-approved at another bank. I said, okay, well, I need about two and a half weeks. Everything goes smoothly. We can do this in 2 weeks. He said, okay, I need to get this person in touch with you because where they got pre-qualified at this big box bank, as soon as they found out that we were under contract with needing to do an FHA mortgage, they told me that they couldn't close for 50 days. 50 days. That is the backlog. That is the time where these big box banks are at, where they're telling their customers, I'm sorry, we can't close your loan in faster than 50 days. We just can't do it. We'd be setting the wrong expectation. At Movement Mortgage, we are still, even in a increasing housing market, we are getting just under 70% of our files and our loans processed in 7 business days. That means that you, the consumer, don't have to worry about going and finding those trailing documents. Worry about, is my loan going to be approved? Is my house going to close on time? Because we're done so early in the process that the last 2 weeks, you only have to worry about packing your house up. You only have to worry about setting up your electricity. Now, how do we do it? How do we move so fast? It's really very, very simple. The owner of our company, Toby Harris, has said to me, he said, Bill, the mortgage industry is the easiest business in the world. All you have to do is collect every single thing that you need from that customer in the first 48 hours. The first 48 hours are the most pivotal and crucial time in that mortgage transaction. If we do a good job and get everything that we need from the customer in the first 48 hours, we will be successful. They will have a successful and positive experience. Now, that's an easy thing to say, a challenging thing to do. Because when the process starts, we're going to collect a limited, finite amount of documentation that we need to send into underwriting to get an initial decision. When the underwriter reviews and approves that loan, they're going to come back to us, the loan officer and the consumer, with a list of closing items. Those closing items are going to be different for every single person out there because there's a specific list specifically created on your situation and on the documentation that we've provided for you. Well, at every other company, when you send in those initial set of paperwork, it's going to go from the loan officer's hands to a processor's hands. That processor has a setup time. They might be given 3 business days, maybe 4 business days. They're going to set that file up, and they're going to usually backburner it because they're overwhelmed. On that 4th day, maybe even they don't get to it in their required time. And on the 5th day, they finally get that file ready and they send it into underwriting. Now an entire week has passed before you've even gotten your file into underwriting for a decision to be issued. The underwriter gets that file. The underwriter now has their time frame, an expectation of 2, 3, 4 days, sometimes longer. Maybe it's 7 days at some companies. I know that's the case. Some companies, the underwriters have 7 days to make that review. So let's say it's somewhere in the middle. It's 4 or 5 days. The underwriter is busy. They've got rushes. They've got refinances that they're focused on. And they finally get to your loan and they review it on the 4th day. So what's happened? They finally make that issue and they issue a decision and they tell you, yes, your loan is approved with conditions just like it was supposed to be. But we've had 8 or 9 business days pass by. We are 2 weeks into the standard 30-day transaction before you even gotten an approval from underwriting. At Movement Mortgage, what happens is totally different. Toby Harris, our company, our processing centers have created a process that allows for us to achieve that goal that Toby set. Get everything from the customer in the first 48 hours. I'll tell you what, customers are really understanding when you ask for this strange letter of explanation or an additional bank statement or another set of tax returns when you do it at the start of the process. Ask for another set of tax returns or another bank statement or to explain something on their credit history the day before closing, and you're going to set yourself up for a bad experience. So Toby Harris set us up so that we can get this done in 48 hours. How does it happen? You're going to reach out to me, reach out to my team. I'm going to collect all the documentation that we need for a full file, and we're going to send it into the underwriter. And it's not going to go from me to a processor. It's going to go from me, from my team, directly into an underwriter's hands. There is no setup time. There's no 4 or 5 day expectation for a processor to get that file ready. It goes from me to the underwriter. The underwriter now has a clock. That clock has started. The clock starts the second we send that file in, and the underwriters and my company, Movement Mortgage, are expected to review that file in 6 hours. 6 business hours. Think about that difference. They're going to do in the very first business day what the other company, the other big box banks are doing in 2 weeks. We're going to have, and it happens all the time. I love it. Every single time I get an opportunity to do a loan and tout how powerful our process is, I love it because I can take a file take an application on a Tuesday night, collect everything that I need from that customer by Wednesday morning, send it in, and by Wednesday afternoon, I have a loan approved. Think about the stress release and the stress relief of having that loan approved in 1 day compared to 2 weeks. Just think about that hanging out there, wondering where your family's going to be, wondering if there's going to be a problem for 2 weeks, waiting for that underwriting decision. At Movement Mortgage, we do it in 1 day. Now, what has that allowed us to do? We have the conditions for closing in those 6 business hours. Now we can go back to you with the list of closing conditions that day, and you can get us everything that we need to close that loan based on that specific set of conditions that are for you, and you can get it to us in day 2. When this is done properly, when it's executed properly, when we have real estate agents and consumers who are on board with our speed, it is flawless. Loans get closed ridiculously early. Loans close with ridiculous speed at a ridiculous pace. I am going to be closing 2 loans next week. The applications came in to me on Monday and Tuesday. Both of these loans are rescue deals from other companies that had the deals for 45 days, couldn't get the job done. The real estate agent, the consumer, is scared to death because they've got a contract. They've already extended the contract. The sellers aren't going to do it again. They come to me, and we're closing them in less than 2 weeks. 2 of them are happening next week. I do it every single week of my career. Thank you to the process at Movement Mortgage, the process that's been created to give you the most superior and excellent customer service experience for your mortgage than you've ever even heard of. I love the number of times that I get to tell someone, oh, it's a VA loan? Yeah, we can close that in 2 weeks. And their eyes pop open and they say, are you kidding me? No, I just did one 2 weeks ago. VA loan in 2 weeks. Now, we can't control everything. There are always things that come up. There are third-party things that need to happen. We need to get insurance bound. We need to have inspections done. We need to have appraisals done. We need to have CL 100 termite inspections completed. There are things that can come up. There are things that are out of my control. But 70% of the time, we have enough control to pull that off, to get those deals done in the 7 processing days and get you ready to close and maybe even get you ready to close early. Think about how closing early impacts your ability to negotiate. If you can write a contract that says I'm going to close in 2 weeks rather than in 6 weeks, like the big box banks are telling you, that seller might need to make 2 less mortgage payments on that purchase that you're about to make because of you closing quickly. That is negotiating power. We're going to talk more about negotiating power and leverage and how to get leverage in a seller's market because of using Movement Mortgage later in the show. Before that, I want to spend some time talking about why you want to buy now. In the next segment, we're going to talk about get off the fence, get off your couch, get into the real estate market because the time to buy is now, and we don't know how much longer that time is going to be as good as it is right now. This is Bill Sandvig. You've been listening to Mortgage Matters. We're going to come back, finish up the show with a couple of segments. Please call me anytime, 843-300-7870. That's my cell phone. You can also find me online at www.lowcountrylending.com. That's my website. You can put in a buying power evaluation, and we'll be right back.
Bill Sandvig has more Mortgage Matters straight ahead on 1250 WTMA, the Big Talker. WTMA. This is Mortgage Matters on 1250 WTMA. From Movement Mortgage, here's Bill Sandvig.
This is Bill Sandvig, and you're listening to Mortgage Matters. Thanks for joining us today. I'm really excited to be able to deliver some messages about finance and mortgages out there to the Charleston, Tri-County area. And I appreciate all the listeners out there and all the calls I get during the week that people thank me for the information that I'm providing and the opportunity to create a new relationship with the consumers and customers and real estate agents out there. So I just wanted to say thank you. And so we spent the last two segments. I want to recap a little bit. The first one was what you want in a lender. And I think that it's important to rehash that because the number one, by far, most important thing is find someone local. Please do not go to www.abcmortgage.com and think that you're going to get a good deal, think that you're going to save money, because they are out there and they don't know our local market. They don't have any experience, and you're going to set yourself up for a really stressful experience. Talk to your real estate agent. If you have a real estate agent that recommends you to an online bank or online lender, I would be shocked because that person obviously doesn't do a lot of real estate. It's nightmare after nightmare. I hear the stories all the time. I rescue deals from those companies all the time. You want someone experienced, someone who is licensed, a licensed originator that's been in this industry, that knows the industry, that's being incentivized to be experienced on their own as a licensed originator. Someone who has a team, more than one point of contact. You don't want that bottleneck. And you want a company that does their processing and underwriting in-house. It's not outsourced. Communication is so important in this industry. And then I spent an entire segment talking about speed, why Movement Mortgage is so fast, and why speed plays such an important role in your mortgage and real estate transaction. I think outside of being local, speed by far would be number two. So I want to take a quick break from talking about mortgages and just tell a quick story. My sons and I, a couple weeks ago, we went out to kick the soccer ball around, and this has absolutely nothing to do with mortgages. It's just something I want to share because it was an awesome experience. We went out to kick the soccer ball around and enjoy a beautiful Sunday. Well, we ended up with a little excursion, a little diversion, and we drove back to the Mount Pleasant Airport. And in the Mount Pleasant Airport, we were just going to go look at the planes and let my 4-year-old walk around and look at a couple of biplanes and just, enjoy the day. Well, next thing I know, we're being invited into the terminal, and we are getting offered to go and take a quick sightseeing tour flight with one of the pilots at the Mount Pleasant Airport. It was ridiculously affordable. All three of us are in a plane. We're up in the air for 40 minutes. It cost $89. We drove around, drove over our neighborhood, drove all the way down the Isle of Palms beach, all the way to Folly, around the Folly Lighthouse, and flew back. My 12-year-old actually got to fly the plane. It was fantastic. I think you got to get out there and check that out. An amazing thing to do with your family or your kids. I mean, it was an experience that my kids will never forget. And I just wanted to share that story. I think it's fantastic and a cool thing to do. It's at the Mount Pleasant Airport, and it was an afternoon that my kids and I will never forget. So you hear when I talk about how passionate I am about Movement Mortgage. I mean, I get so excited. I get goosebumps. I get butterflies when I'm talking about my company. I mean, I'm so passionate about what we do and what they deliver. And, it just shows the success that we've had in the market, going from being nowhere on the scene in the end of 2013 to being the number 5 market share, purchase mortgage share lender in the Tri-County area in just our first year. It really speaks to what the power of the speed and what we do is for our clients and for our real estate partners. So I really encourage you to call me. Please reach out. I want to talk to you. 843-300-7870, or go online at www.lowcountrylending.com and check me out, check my company out. One of the things that my company does and what we stand for is we are not just a mortgage company looking to put executives in jets and make as much money as we can. We are a mortgage company where mortgages are a vehicle to deliver a change in the community and the corporate cultures and the people that work for us. We are devoting all of our resources to places like the Movement Center, a brand new facility that's opened up in Charlotte. We've got a second Movement Center coming in Richmond, and they're going to start popping up all around the country. A movement center is going to be a large, massive warehouse where local charitable organizations, local mission groups can come in and have low cost to free rent so that they can do what they want to do to make a difference in our communities. They're going to be start popping up like Ronald McDonald's houses. Keep your eye open because I promise you one is going to be coming to Charleston sometime soon. And that's just who we are. When you work with Movement, and I encourage you to go to our website at movement.com and you'll see who we are and what we're about as a mortgage company. It is not about making money. It's about being excellent at what we do. It's about making a difference in the lives of the communities we're around. So I kind of got off on a tangent there, but what I want to focus on this segment is why you want to buy now. Why you want to buy now. Get off the fence. Get off your couch. Get out there. Look at houses. If you're thinking about buying a house, the time is now. Interest rates are so strong. They are lower than they've ever been in history. We've had a 4 or 5 year little section of time where interest rates are so good that it'd be foolish for you to wait. It is inevitably going to happen that interest rates are going to start moving up. It's already started to happen a little bit. They're creeping up. The government is going to continue to allow for them to creep up. And you're going to see the house you're looking at now become more expensive to own in the very near future. The very near future, a house you're looking at now for $200,000 might cost you $1,200 a month. That exact same house with a 1% increase in interest rate is going to cost you almost $1,400 a month. That is a significant difference. And if you're limited by budget, if $1,200 is the most that you can spend, instead of looking at that $200,000 house, you're going to be looking at a $160,000 house. But wait, there's more. Housing prices are also increasing. So that means you wait that 1 year and interest rates have gone up 1%. The value of that house has also gone up 1%. So instead of that house being a $200,000 house that you're looking at right now, next year it might cost $220,000. We've seen 10% increases in property values in the last couple of years. If it happens again, that $200,000 house not only is going to cost you more because the rate's higher, it's going to cost you more because it costs more. The price has gone up. So now think about that compounding. Not only are you paying more for that house you're looking at now, you're also spending more because the interest rate's higher. Think about how that could impact your quality of life for the next 10 or 15 years while you're in that home. It's really dramatic, folks. I encourage you to reach out to me, reach out to a local realtor, have that conversation. The earlier you start that conversation, the better. You might be sitting there thinking, I'm not in a place to buy yet. I don't have the money saved. I don't have the credit that I need. Get the answer. Call me. You might be shocked. You might be shocked at the programs that are available that don't require you to put money down. Or maybe they require you to put very little down. You'll be shocked about how your real estate agent and I can help you negotiate to have all of your closing fees covered. So you don't have to worry about your closing costs. All you have to worry about is a very small down payment, or maybe even no down payment at all. You can reach out to me because you think you have credit issues. I can fix bad credit. I know how to fix bad credit. You call me, I'm going to diagnose it. I'm going to tell you exactly what you need to do. I'm going to get you into a house. I can't even tell you the number of stories of someone who's come into my office thinking they had no chance, and all we needed to do was have them pay down a little credit card or pay off a $100 medical collection or some small something that showed up in their past, and it cost them almost nothing to fix their credit. They just didn't know what they had to do. It feels overwhelming. Let me be there with you. Let me coach you through that. And we'll get you from being in bad credit to being in a credit spot where you're in a place where you can buy right now. Your credit score for the programs at Movement Mortgage, you only need to have a 580 credit score. A 580 credit score, and we can start having a conversation about getting you in a house. I have had people that have low 500 scores, and we start the process. We set out a 6-month plan. They go under contract for a new construction home. The builder knows the situation. The builder knows that the person's got to build their credit during that build time or it's not going to close. Everybody is okay with it. And during that time, we lay out a plan. And for the next 6 months, while you're saving, you're also working on your credit. And by the time it comes to close on your brand new house, your brand new dream home that you never thought you could afford, your credit's where it needs to be. You're closing on your house with little to no money down and buying the home that you never thought you would have for your family. It all has to do with planning ahead, reaching out to a professional, and buying now. I promise you, you will be able to afford more house today than you'll be able to afford 365 days from now. In our last segment, I'm going to talk about you're ready to buy now. You just got off the fence. We just had that conversation. The time is now, the time to act now. And we're going to talk about how to leverage yourself in a seller's market. You're a buyer. You want to stand out in a seller's market? Well, we're going to make that happen. I'm going to tell you how to do it with me and with Movement Mortgage at your back. So coming up on Mortgage Matters, tune in. You don't want to miss it.
Mortgage Matters continues next on Charleston's Big Talker, WTMA. Now, let's get back to Mortgage Matters on the Big Talker. From Movement Mortgage, here's Bill Sandvig.
I'm Bill Sandvig, and this is Mortgage Matters. You're listening to here in WTMA, the Big Talker. And thanks so much for tuning in. We've talked a lot today, got a lot of good stuff out there, talked about what you want in a lender, who's going to represent you through one of the biggest transactions and biggest purchases you're ever going to make. We talked about my company, why I'm passionate about it, talked about why I got those butterflies every time I get to share our message and who we are with consumers or with real estate partners, and why I love what I do. And we talked about why Movement has been so excellent at what we do, how we operate and function with such speed that we can make those kind of crazy promises. I tell you what, our competitors, they hate to hear it, and they've been hearing it more than they choose to, that we can underwrite files in 6 business hours, get loans processed in 7 days, and close in 1. And talk about getting a transaction that takes everybody else 50 days to do, and we do it in 2 weeks. What a difference that would make in your life, in your transaction, and for your family to have that stress done in 2 weeks. Now, that speed, it is not just about relieving stress and about having a fast transaction, and that's not where it stops. There is a significant benefit and a significant advantage that speed gives to you, the buyer. And that's what we're going to talk about in this last segment. We're going to talk about leverage. It is a seller's market right now here in the Charleston Tri-County area. Heck, it's a seller's market pretty much everywhere in the entire country. The housing market is back. Property values are going up. People are buying houses again. People are selling houses again. And there's a lot more buyers than there are sellers. It is a seller's market. That means you're not going to get the deals that you were once getting a couple years ago. Gone are the days of putting offers in that are 10% below asking. Gone are the days of holding out and waiting and then going back to that house 30 days later when they still haven't sold it and giving them a 15% off offer. They're gone. They're in the past. If you want to buy a house, you got to be ready to move fast, because when you go and look at that first house at the top of your list, and then you say, well, let's go look at 6 more houses and we'll see how we feel. By the time you circled back to the one that you really liked, it's gone. There's already an offer on it. It's already active contingent. Or in that time, the time you took to sleep on it, to think about it, you just put yourself in a multiple offer situation because 2 other families who were sleeping on it the night before, they just made their offers on that house that you love because they love it too, because it's a good deal and there's not a lot of choices out there. So how can you separate yourself? Well, here's how. You call me, and instead of getting a pre-approval letter, you're going to get a commitment letter. I'm going to take you without a house. I'm going to collect all the documentation that you need in order to close a loan, and we're going to send it into underwriting, and we're going to use that 6-hour process to review and get a decision on that file and approve your loan. We're going to use it to put you in a position where you look like cash. We're going to make it look like you are cash. There is no question you're getting this loan because guess what? You've already been approved for it. You don't have the house yet, but we've gotten you fully approved, and we did it in 1 day. So when you go write that offer, you're going to be able to tell those sellers, I'm going to be able to make a call to that listing agent. Your realtor is going to be able to call and say, look, my customers are done with their loan. They're fully approved. What does that mean? That means there is no chance, or very, very little chance. Things can come up. We can't control everything. But there's very little chance that this is going to fall through. Your house is not going to end up in escrow because my clients, my buyers, have already gotten approved through underwriting with Movement Mortgage. And not only that, but because we've done that hard work, because we got it all done before we wrote this offer, they're going to be able to close quick. They're going to be able to close fast. They can close in as little as 2 weeks. What does that sound like? No risk of the loan falling through. We're going to close in 2 weeks. We give them a commitment letter that shows we're done. It looks like cash. We, Movement Mortgage, my team, have just made you, a mortgage buyer who's getting a loan, look like cash. That means you stand out. Those multiple offers that came in while you were sleeping about if you wanted that house, you now are superior to them. You don't have to put the contingencies in there. You don't have to wait for 45 days, 50 days for your loan to close. That seller might be making 2 less mortgage payments because of that. That seller might be able to move into their house that they're going to buy after they sell this one with less stress because we're going to be able to close them faster. Think about the leverage that affords you. I have seen countless times where I put people in this position, and not only do they win the house that they want, which is probably most important. You're out there. You've been watching the market. You've been waiting for that house. It finally is there. This is the one. It meets all the criteria, all the must-haves. This is the house. And then you find out that 3 other families have that same must-have list, and we're going to make you look better than them. My clients are winning out on their offers. They're winning the deals because we're putting them in a position to win. We're putting them in a position to have that leverage to get them in the house that they want. I have seen my clients time and time again not only get the house they want, but they get the house they want for less because they look like cash. They get the house they want for less over an offer that says I can't close for 60 days and I'm contingent on the sale of another house. Their offers win because we've removed all the question marks. Sellers and sellers agents, listing agents do not want to end up in escrow for 45 days just to have the buyer's agent call them and say, I'm sorry, we have to extend the contract. Will you please extend the contract? And now you're in limbo wondering if their house is going to sell. We're going to remove that doubt. We're going to put you in a position to get the house you want at the price you want the first time you try. It's all about leverage. That is how Movement Mortgage serves you, serves the consumer. We're going to make you look like cash and get you into that house. Man, I could talk about this all day. If you can't tell, I love my company. I love Movement Mortgage. I got a girl crush on Movement Mortgage. Thank you so much for tuning in today to Mortgage Matters. Call me anytime. I want to talk about this stuff with you some more. 843-300-7870. That's my cell phone. And I'm happy to talk to you. Thank you again so much. This is Bill Sandvig, and you've been listening to Mortgage Matters.
You've been listening to Mortgage Matters with Bill Sandvig from Movement Mortgage. Call Bill for your mortgage needs at 843-300-7870. That's 843-300-7870. Listen again next week at this time for another edition of Mortgage Matters with Bill Sandvig on 1250 WTMA.